Good evening, and it's great to have you with us here on a very busy Monday night. And we begin with former Acting Attorney General Sally Yates. Her testimony ending just a short time ago, offering in detail the warning she says she gave the White House about President Trump's national security advisor, retired General Michael Flynn. Yates telling Congress about her 2 meetings inside the White House with the White House counsel and what he then asked about Flynn. And she made it clear today, she says she warned them Flynn was, in her words, compromised and could be blackmailed by Russia. Yet Michael Flynn would stay on the job for weeks and was there for a call with President Trump and President Putin. ABC senior justice correspondent Pierre Thomas leading us off.
She walked into a crush of cameras. Senator Lindsey Graham opening with this.
Back in your cages.
The intense scrutiny following every word of the testimony from former Acting Attorney General Sally Yates as she outlined the steps she took to warn the White House about then National Security Advisor Michael Flynn.
Because this was a matter of some urgency.
Yates describing an intense call to White House counsel Don McGahn on the morning of January 26th.
I called Don McGahn first thing that morning and told him that I had a very sensitive matter that I needed to discuss with him, that I couldn't talk about it on the phone, and that I needed to come see him.
She went to the White House that very day to discuss concerns Flynn might have been lying to the White House.
The vice president was unknowingly making false statements to the public, and because we believed that General Flynn was compromised with respect to the Russians. We believed that the Russians knew this, and that created a compromise situation, a situation where the national security advisor essentially could be blackmailed by the Russians.
Yates citing repeated assertions from Trump officials suggesting that Flynn had told them he had not discussed President Obama's sanctions against the Kremlin for meddling in the U.S. election on a call with the Russian ambassador. But Yates knew otherwise because Flynn was caught on electronic surveillance, allegedly discussing those sanctions the same day they were announced.
We were concerned that the American people had been misled.
So what you're saying is that General Flynn lied to the vice president.
That's certainly how it appeared, yes. The underlying conduct that General Flynn had engaged in was problematic in and of itself.
The next day, another urgent meeting at the White House.
The first topic in the second meeting was essentially, why does it matter to DOJ if one White House official lies to another?
The White House counsel also wanted to know if Flynn likely faced criminal charges and expressed concern that taking action against Flynn might interfere with an ongoing FBI investigation.
And the fourth topic was his request to see the underlying evidence.
Yates said the evidence was presented to the White House on the morning of January 30th, the very day she was fired for refusing to enforce President Trump's travel ban.
I don't know whether that ever happened, whether they ever looked at that evidence or not.
Democrats today asking why Flynn was allowed to stay in his job for 18 days after the warning, even participating in an Oval Office phone call between President Trump and Russian leader Vladimir Putin. But some Republicans were focusing on how classified information about Flynn ended up in the press.
Have either of you ever been an anonymous source in a news report about matters relating to Mr. Trump, his associates, or Russians' attempt to meddle in the election?
No.
Absolutely not.
And Yates with a final warning to the American people about Russian meddling.
I think they're coming back, Senator, and I think that we have to do a whole lot more, both to harden our election systems, our state election systems, to ensure that folks out there know when they're looking at news feeds that it may not be real news that they're reading.
All right, so let's get to Pierre Thomas live at the Capitol tonight. Yates also testifying, Pierre, that the White House counsel asked during one of those meetings whether Flynn should be fired. They asked her.
David, Yates said she offered no recommendations, saying it was a White House call, not hers. And we learned one more thing today from Obama administration officials who said the former president warned Trump in the Oval Office about Flynn 2 days after the election. David?
That the president warned them as well. All right, Pierre Thomas leading us.